working mom. And she goes, it can be incredibly overwhelming. Oh my gosh, I just need a break.
Wow.
And then we find out she's had a full-time nanny for 5 years.
What?
Who takes the kids to school.
What do you guys do at home?
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
4 years. Meghan Markle has managed her image with the precision of a Hollywood director, every camera angle chosen, every headline shaped, every candid photo perfectly rehearsed. To the world, her life looked like a royal dream, an elegant script written for the cameras. But when the lights dimmed and the camera stopped rolling, what really unfolded behind those mansion gates? According to one woman who was there, who saw, heard, and lived it, the fairy tale wasn't quite what the world was told. This isn't tabloid chatter or palace rumor. This is a first-hand account from someone inside the Sussex home, a voice Meghan never wanted the public to hear. Because this nanny claims that working for Harry and Meghan wasn't nurturing, it was endearing. A job that felt less like childcare and more like surviving a carefully staged illusion.
Another nanny nightmare for Meghan Markle and Prince Harry.
She says the rules were bizarre, the atmosphere tense, and even the family moments felt more rehearsed than real. Behind Meghan's glowing speeches about compassion and authenticity, this insider describes something very different, a world built on control, secrecy, and silence. Her account raises a question no PR team can polish away. If life inside the Sussex home was truly perfect, why did those living within its walls feel like outsiders looking in? And just when you think the revelations stop there, think again. Because what this former nanny says about Archie and Lilibet takes the story from uncomfortable to unbelievable. The fairy tale facade may not have cracked, it may have completely shattered.
The nanny that the couple have been relying on for some time wants out.
Because according to her, this is where the story turns from strange to downright shocking. Before the nanny even set foot inside the Sussex mansion, the job description itself raised red flags. It didn't sound like a childcare position, it read like a casting call. Every word was measured, every requirement strangely personal. Meghan, she was told, wanted someone discreet, adaptable, and not distracting. Translation: someone skilled enough to manage the children but never visible enough to steal the spotlight. Whispers among household staff hinted at the truth. Meghan didn't want anyone under her roof who might outshine the brand. Behind the polished image of empowerment and openness, every hire was reportedly screened not just for competence but for appearance, social presence, even relationship status. Candidates joked that interviews felt less like background checks and more like auditions for Meghan Markle, the home edition.
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry had got through 3 nannies in just 6 weeks, and that's because working for this couple is incredibly difficult.
A nanny with her own children? Too complicated. Someone in a relationship? Too risky. The message was unmistakable: your entire life must orbit around Meghan's. This wasn't just a job. It was a form of devotion. Professionalism wasn't enough, the role demanded absolute loyalty. Flexibility didn't mean managing a busy schedule, it meant being on call at all hours, ready to respond to late-night messages and sudden requests. Privacy wasn't a right. It was a luxury no one in that house could afford. What should have felt like a warm family position instead resembled life inside a private institution, one where a single wrong word could cost you everything. Even stranger, applicants were allegedly told that access to the children was on Meghan's terms only. No set hours, no casual affection, no natural bonding, just structure, silence, and precision. The nanny admitted she nearly walked away until curiosity got the better of her. Because buried among all those polished instructions, one final line caught her eye: all activities within the residence are subject to observation. At the time, she brushed it off as standard protocol, but she would later learn that warning was meant literally.
Once the agency creates a list of potential hires, you meet with that nanny. Then you have to meet with another one of Meghan's assistants. These are 2 separate auditions. Then you sign an NDA, which grants you access to Harry and Meghan. So this is the 3rd interview.
When the nanny arrived at the Sussex property, she expected an interview, not an audition under surveillance. From the moment she crossed the threshold, something felt strangely off. The mansion was pristine, almost unnaturally perfect, but eerily quiet, as if even the silence had been rehearsed. She was told to go about a normal trial day, observing routines and staying relaxed. But no one mentioned that every movement was being watched. Hidden cameras captured how she walked, how she spoke, even the way she smiled. Later, she would learn this wasn't a simple security measure, it was reportedly Meghan's method of studying potential staff like characters in her own private production. Those who appeared too confident were labeled unmanageable. Those too quiet were dismissed as uninspired. The goal wasn't simply to find a nanny, it was to find someone who could seamlessly blend into Meghan's curated world. Someone who wouldn't disturb the image she'd built. When the formal interview finally came, Meghan's tone was calm but sharp. Her questions didn't focus on childcare, they tested something deeper. How do you handle being corrected? She asked. How do you respond when people misinterpret your intentions? They weren't questions about experience, they were questions about control. The nanny realized the role required more than skill or care, it demanded emotional obedience. She wasn't being hired to nurture children. She was being hired to maintain the illusion, to protect the brand from within. One silent smile at a time.
The agency has specifically been instructed to hide Harry and Meghan's identity from the applicant. They just want to make sure you're comfortable working with Meghan because of her reputation.
By the end of the day, the nanny realized she hadn't walked into a home, she'd stepped onto a set. Every moment felt staged, every movement rehearsed. This wasn't a family, it was a production. And like any production, there was only one person who had final cut approval from the outside. The Sussexes looked united, a royal couple charting their own modern path. But behind the walls of their California mansion, quiet disagreements exposed a deeper divide. Harry, raised in a world of protocol and order, believed his children should experience the same sense of structure he once knew. He pushed for a Norland nanny, classically trained, discreet, and loyal to royal tradition. To him, that kind of professionalism meant stability, legacy, and respect for duty. Meghan, however, saw it differently. She wanted someone modern, a caregiver who embodied her California lifestyle, relaxed, stylish, socially aware. Her version of parenting wasn't about tradition, it was about control through image. The clash wasn't just about childcare, it was about identity. Harry's world revolved around duty. Meghan's revolved around presentation. Every detail, from the nanny's accent to her wardrobe, became a silent tug-of-war between two visions of what family should look like. Insiders described the atmosphere as tense, not explosive, marked by long silences and polite smiles that hid irritation. Harry often referenced his mother's warmth and openness. Meghan countered with independence and privacy. Behind their perfect Instagram smiles, two philosophies quietly collided. In the end, Meghan's version prevailed. The traditional uniform was scrapped. The formal routines disappeared. What remained was a home that reflected her, curated, camera-ready, and completely controlled.
I'm working so hard. Is she really? Or is she just saying she is?
Well, according to their tax documents, they work 1 hour a week.
Harry adapted, but those close to him saw the change. Something in his demeanor had shifted, subtle but undeniable. The nanny, standing in the middle of it all, slowly realized this wasn't just a household, it was a brand. And even love, inside those walls, seemed to need approval. Among the whispers that floated quietly through the Sussex home, one subject stood out, so sensitive that no one dared speak of it openly. The nanny, working long hours within the mansion, began noticing something she couldn't quite explain. Despite being constantly present, there were no signs of an expectant mother. No morning visits from doctors. No prenatal care routines. No maternity wear folded in laundry baskets. No baby preparation visible anywhere. At first, she brushed it off as privacy. After all, Meghan was known for her obsession with control over her personal image. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the silence grew heavy. Staff exchanged uneasy glances but avoided questions. Then, when glossy photos appeared in the press showing Meghan with a baby bump, confusion rippled through those who had been there the whole time. The nanny later confessed she didn't want to believe the rumors, but her own experience simply didn't align with the public story. I never saw what I was supposed to see, she recalled quietly. Some staff were warned not to comment, reminded that certain matters are not to be discussed. The atmosphere became stifling, as though even truth itself had been sealed behind those immaculate walls. For a woman celebrated globally for her authenticity, the contradictions were haunting. And for those who lived inside that reality, one question echoed like a lullaby in an empty nursery. What exactly were they protecting? Privacy or perception?
I'm a great mum, I'm a great wife, I'm a great friend, I'm also incredibly modest. I mean, what a boaster. Stop boasting about yourself. What's wrong with her? She is racked with epic insecurity, isn't she?
Weeks turned into months, yet something about the Sussex home felt strangely incomplete. The rooms were immaculate, flawless to the point of unease. It didn't feel like a family home. It felt like a museum, curated to appear lived in but untouched by real life. The nanny began noticing what wasn't there. No scattered toys. No scribbles on walls. No little fingerprints on glass or tiny clothes in laundry baskets. The air was too clean, too still. There were no bedtime stories, no distant cries, not even a forgotten pacifier tucked behind a cushion. It was as if the idea of children existed but not their presence. At first, she told herself the kids must stay elsewhere for privacy. But even on days when family gatherings were rumored to take place, the house stayed silent. Meals were prepared but left untouched. The playroom door stayed locked as though it was part of a set, waiting for a photo shoot that never came. The silence became deafening. Staff moved carefully, their eyes flicking toward the ever-present security cameras. No one dared to ask questions. One housekeeper finally whispered, "Everything here is managed, even what we're meant to believe." For the nanny, the unease grew unbearable. The public saw a warm, joyful family. She saw a performance, a scene without an audience. The more she looked for evidence of real family life, the more she felt something essential was missing, something human. Her quiet uncertainty turned to conviction. This wasn't a home with children, it was a home with the story of children. Months later, when the Sussex's glossy Netflix documentary premiered, she sat down to watch like everyone else, but for her, it wasn't entertainment. It was recognition. The glowing montages of laughter and domestic bliss looked nothing like the house she knew. The furniture was rearranged. The windows faced another direction. Even the sunlight fell differently across the rooms. "That wasn't our house," she whispered to a former co-worker. "At least, not the one we worked in." And for the first time, she realized maybe the fairy tale everyone adored wasn't filmed in reality at all.
Trust me, this is all part of Meghan's sinister plan to commercialize her children, to pimp them out for financial gain, and I'm not being sucked in by it at all.
The documentary scene showed Meghan cradling Archie while Harry laughed beside her. In a sunlit California garden, soft music swelled under their smiles, painting a picture of peace and family perfection. But to those who had truly spent time inside the Sussex estate, something felt off, too neat, too polished, too perfectly framed. It didn't feel like home footage. It felt like a commercial for domestic bliss. The nanny paused on one particular shot, Meghan sitting on the floor, toys scattered artfully around her. To viewers, it looked intimate and warm. But to the nanny, it looked staged. The background didn't match the house layout she knew by heart. Even the sound of children's laughter sounded unnatural, crisp, edited, conveniently timed. A chill ran through her. If this documentary wasn't showing reality, what was it protecting? What was real and what was being produced simply to be believed? As the credits rolled, one thought refused to fade. The film wasn't documenting a life, it was inventing one. Working inside the Sussex residence, the nanny realized, didn't feel like serving a family. It felt like existing inside a controlled fortress. From the moment staff arrived, they handed over their personal phones. Every visitor, cleaners, gardeners, assistants had to pass through multiple security checkpoints. Devices were locked inside opaque pouches before anyone could step beyond the front hall. Conversations were kept to a minimum, strictly work-related. Even friendly small talk could draw suspicion. One careless comment was enough to end a contract. The air itself felt monitored. Cameras watched hallways, entryways, even outdoor pots. Some staff whispered that microphones had been discreetly installed for safety reasons. But to them, it didn't feel like protection, it felt like surveillance. People stopped confiding in one another. Friendships faded into formal courtesies. Even a simple, "How are you?" could earn a warning for crossing boundaries. The nanny came to understand that Meghan's insistence on privacy had crossed into paranoia. Even Harry, once warm, spontaneous, and kind, seemed changed. His laughter had become rare, echoing briefly through the halls before vanishing. Like it wasn't meant to be heard. By the end of each day, staff left the estate silent, drained, and uneasy. The house that promised serenity had become a stage built on secrecy. And behind those flawless walls and perfectly trimmed hedges, one truth was undeniable: trust had become the rarest luxury of all.
Archie and Lily have finally been unmasked. Oh, H, they're already out there. They're already out there, H. So of course I've got to use them to sell my clothes, to sell my wine, to sell my makeup, to sell whatever else comes next, probably children's clothing at some point.
The nanny began to notice a strange pattern, one that repeated itself with eerie precision. Every time cameras or photographers were scheduled to arrive, the entire atmosphere inside the Sussex home transformed. Rooms that had sat untouched for weeks were suddenly brought to life. Fresh flowers filled vases. Children's toys appeared overnight, and soft blankets were neatly folded over chairs as if they'd always been there. Books were carefully ranged on tables, and framed family photos materialized in perfect symmetry. It wasn't natural chaos, it was set design. On one particular morning, Meghan's team prepared for what they called a private family shoot. The children were supposedly present, yet the house remained silent. No laughter, no cries, no footsteps. When the photographers arrived, Meghan appeared radiant, poised, calm, camera ready. Every gesture felt deliberate. She smiled softly, looked down tenderly, then tilted her head toward the lens at just the right moment. To the nanny, it wasn't motherhood, it was marketing. Later, when the now famous chicken coop photos surfaced, Meghan in jeans, feeding hens with the children, staff exchanged uneasy glances. None of them recalled that moment ever happening. The setting looked familiar, but the children in the photos did not. That's when it became clear family scenes weren't captured. They were constructed. Each image, every smiling frame wasn't a memory, it was a narrative. And as the nanny scrolled through glowing headlines praising Meghan's real family life, a quiet chill settled in her chest. Because behind those perfect photos, reality had long been cropped out. In the end, the nanny's story wasn't one of revenge, it was one of release. After years spent inside a home where truth was filtered through image, she finally chose to step out of the shadows. Not for fame, but for peace. Her account may never appear in glossy magazines or royal documentaries, but it remains raw, unfiltered, and deeply human. What she described wasn't hatred, it was heartbreak. A quiet observation of how authenticity can vanish beneath the flash of a camera. Because for all the glamour, privacy, and power, the most haunting thing inside those walls wasn't scandal, it was silence. And maybe that's the real revelation, that sometimes the stories we're shown aren't made to inform us, but to protect the ones who wrote them. If this story left you questioning what's real and what's rehearsed, don't miss what came before it. Our previous investigation. Harry and shock as Sarah Ferguson exposes Meghan's yacht days with Andrew. There, the puzzle pieces of Meghan's carefully crafted path begin to fall into place. You're watching Celeb Courtyard, where the truth behind the headlines is never far away, just one story deeper.